to move around the map can honestly make a big wayside a little bit. But in Knockout, it still makes a lot of sense. They're kind of locking themselves into a kit strategy. But even last month, especially in East Asia, we saw this brawler picked up 8 times, only won 25%, which is definitely a poor showing. So we'll see if this month number 2 changes things up. It's a good call out from you, and we knew it was probably inevitable, right? Either they don't want a Kit Daryl combo to face off against, or they have to steal it for themselves. So now they're going to be able to sit back, relax. Even without Kit, Daryl can still be relevant, I think. You know, he does have the ability for tank trade to charge up his super passively. I think it can still work out pretty well, and grabbing a Mr. P is not a bad consolation prize, I might add.
I mean, we've seen that it can work. Like, it did fine in a few of the matches, or a few of the rounds, I should say, when I believe it was Navi who picked it up. It worked. It was fine, nothing special, but you've got to take it away from the kit. And I don't know if they're going to choose something else, Buster, something like that they can also aggress on with this kit. Similar kind of mentality and gameplay with it, or if they're just going to completely pivot away and now just try to counter out the Daryl. They're going to go with the Melody, something a bit aggressive, can be good against the Mr. P if caught off guard, but if there's portals coming in, definitely makes her a bit more difficult to play.
Melody and Kit certainly has potential. I mean, a little dash plus heals could be pretty filthy. And like you mentioned, if we get those musical notes up close to Mr. P, when you're a little more personal in his space, you can definitely get a takedown a little bit easier. Mr. P likes his distance. He's very, very much likes to have those longer range shots, have the porters by his side. But I think a Kit plus a Melody might be a good solution to kind of taking that guy out.
Piper rolling on in as well. Obviously, it's one of those brawlers that kind of just plays in that pocket and just shoots across constantly. Don't really want to take her into the grass because that can be a big risk, especially against, you know, even a Mr. P against a Daryl. Those kind of brawlers who she's going to be pretty useless against at close range. So it's a fine pick, but you've got to be very, very cautious with Piper, and late game, it's going to be an issue.
Curious to see how it does, because obviously in the Daryl, it's going to take a lot of shots to bring that down for Piper. Mr. P has the porters, and they're going to be going with Buzz. Look, I was really impressed with Terry on the Buzz just one set ago. This would be a whole nother level of performance to me. Now they're double tanking, no support. The Buzz can definitely work if you grapple onto any of those 3 brawlers. But I think it's a little bit trickier to make Buzz work on this map and mode especially, so we'll see if Terry is just a cut above the rest, because I would certainly be impressed if this worked out.
Yeah, we'll be able to see if it does. I want to say I want to doubt it, but if I say that, I know it's just going to start very aggressive and just go for it, or when supers get built up, walls get broken, they're going to have some problems.
Definitely interesting, a unique draft, and just one of those that always excites me. Ready to be proven wrong. I don't doubt the Buzz, like you said, but it's one of those things that I haven't necessarily seen all the time, so I don't know how it's going to fare. Shu already has a super built up, though. Either attach to one of his teammates, heal them up passively, and become a pseudo-thrower, or a lot of times, pro players aren't afraid. If they get an isolation situation, see if they see Meshi on that side, the squishiest of the enemy brawlers, they'll look for those free tags. So either way, they can try and take advantage of Kit here.
Yeah, tried to have one of those little porters coming from the bottom side. It was quickly dealt with by Shu, who does have his super now, and might be able to single someone out, but if he goes aggressive in this portion of the game, he jumps in, he gets killed in about a second by a
behind these walls, wait around. But it's a full house for Reject. Every single super available to them, and they're the ones with the advantage in the rounds. They don't have a lot built up on the other end yet. They're still kind of waiting for that, so Icy needs to get a super if they want any chance at this. And now it's going to be everybody that's just ultimately going to ult drop here towards this fog closing in.
Well, Porter's just non-stop now rolling in. Batman has the hypercharge and the super is dangerous, but we see stuff on the other side as well. Mr. P Porters, non-stop. They are being dealt with quite quickly. And technically, Piper could go and shoot that Porters, but choosing to just play it out, wait, because these notes revolving around Batman will deal with it quite quickly, and Icy looking for the opportune moment to strike.
This fog's going to start closing in. Shoot getting into action. Icy rolling out. All the damage going to start unfolding here. It's a stun day. Hyper focus that top right-hand side. And Melty left all alone. Going to take some insane footwork to dodge all this and the fog. It was close. But 8,000 HP for Daryl will certainly be enough. Love the focus there. Rival Esports had to have had good comms there because they were all fixated on that kit combo. That's exactly what they needed. They had to bring that down first because once the Piper, the single shot brawler, is down by herself, it's going to be really hard to bring down two tanks in Daryl and Buzz.
Yeah, I mean, they got two, so well done to Melty for that, but they just kind of waited for Batman's dashes to run out and then just pounced on him. Icy only used one of his rolls to ensure that he still had that in the pocket. And another one of these Porters coming out by the gadget. Every few seconds now they'll just refresh and another one will be heading in, but they're not the ones you're going to be scared of. They need to prevent him from getting this super.
Icy already has it charged up, and Terry just waiting around. Meshi gonna cycle in those gadgets, just waste the shots of the enemies. And again, I think we're just gonna have to anticipate this being a late game stage fight. I know that's definitely what Rival want, but I think Reject made it work in round number one, so it's gonna be a clash of both these strategies here. Melty has a hyper charge as well, and I'm sure Batman would love to charge up a little bit here. He's gonna need a few more taps if they want to be able to cycle that super.
Oh, Terry gets right on top of him. This does go down, though, and Batman gets out of range. Now Kid's just going to be heading straight for the Mr. P, but they're not going to get a great jump from him there. But he auto-aimed the turret. Almost went very wrong. Could have shot along the side, but the turret tanked a little bit and eventually managed to get it, but definitely could have gone the other way.
I actually think that was a lot closer, like you said. I'm guessing that was an auto aim as well, because basically the Piper just had to line up one good shot, and that was it. It was a simple shot too. Kit was stunned, but I think that's probably just in the panic at the moment. And honestly, it all worked out. It's all good, but my brain was thinking the same as you. I got real scared there for a moment. Terry just diving in here instantly, and it does not pay off whatsoever. He falls immediately. Now they're getting passive heals from a Kit super, and they're able to dash away. Disaster spilling for Rival Esports.
Yeah, it's a tough start. I mean, we didn't really catch the right at the start. I'm guessing they both just went left, and Buzz tried to catch someone out and got caught out himself. A little bit unfortunate here for Rival, who were in a very good position coming into this set and not looking bad in the past game either. But now, seems to be getting away from them.
3v2 is devastating in Knockout. I mean, especially at pro level, it's really hard to make up for that, but the Porters are essentially going to be their third brawler on the map. Another dive in from Kit. They dodge the Daryl roll. Daryl will go in for the second, and a simple slide away will keep them up a little bit longer. Now they're focusing the squishy Mameshi, and it's just alone Daryl left. He does have a roll available, does have a hypercharge. He knows better. A lot of times in the pro scene, you're going to see them walk away in the fog the second they know that they don't have it won, because they don't want to give up any more charge to the other team. It's not them throwing the white flag necessarily. It's just the smart, intelligent play, and that's all they have to go with for now.
Oh, roll comes in, dash away. Shu misses the jump onto his teammate, but Batman doing so much, and all the rest of his team surviving as well. Melty looking for the killing blow, and Batman trying to keep them low. But nothing yet. It's a 3v2, and Terry and Icy not out of this, as they're the two big heavy hitters on the Rival squad.
And they've got mid control. But Shu there to assist. Batman on the melody, marching forward. Terry looking to cycle it out, not enough. The musical notes plus the heals are just too overwhelming, and now Icy doesn't have a chance. The walls are gonna go down. Batman rushes forward, and Melty gets the following blow. Reject have tied things up, and we will once again have a set 5 today.
Yeah, I mean, that's twice now that they tried to just catch them out by going down one of the sides and ended up getting caught out themselves. Not really the best there from Rival, but Reject definitely played it very, very well, and a great draft from them as well. I have to doubt the Rival draft a little bit. Double tank, never really, well, I have seen it, but never really seen it succeed too much on this map at least. So it's something that was worth trying, but just didn't pay off in the end, so.
it really didn't, even though I thought it would. I really like that Daryl pick. I want to touch up quickly on something you mentioned during the draft and during the matches. Kenny, Daryl is so good on this map because there's no need for him to run around. He doesn't have the tank trait to collect his ult through getting shot at. His trait allows his super and hypercharge to charge automatically over time. So when I saw this pick, I thought, okay, that Daryl is going to pop off and it's going to work out somehow. It didn't. Melody on the other side. That's also something you mentioned, Kenny. Whenever there's a Daryl on one side, there's going to be a Melody on the other side. And that Melody made use of those two tanks, charged her super with that, and then just wreaked havoc.
I think that's a good call from you. I believe I did call it tank trade earlier. I just more meant that he gets his super passively, right? He literally just sat in the bush. He was the opposite of all team cardio. He was all team sit on the bench and then wait till the very end.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, it just didn't work out for them. I think it was a creative draft. It's different, but the Buzz pick, like I said, really tough to make work. We saw what Terry could do in the set prior. Very solid player. I just think on a map like this and a mode like this into a Kit Melody combo, really just difficult one to win. It has a high ceiling, but the floor is definitely lower too alongside that.
Just so difficult for them, really is. Like, they can't really engage at all at mid-range without it being Mr. P, and if Mr. P steps out, he's going to get punished quite quickly as well. So, a little unfortunate here for Rival Esports. Did seem like they were coming into this one as the favourites to just finish it out in 4 and win 3-1. But in the end, it just didn't seem to be going that way, and it doesn't seem to be going that way anymore. Rival Esports have got to iron out this draft for set 5, otherwise they could be being knocked out in the semis.
You said it. We're going to set 5 again, just like in the previous quarterfinal match as a Division versus Crazy Raccoon. This Reject versus Rival series also goes all the way. So guys, I hope you have planned in some time for today for that, because I feel like every single match that we're still going to be watching today is going to go to set 5.
Wow, that's a big statement. I think this
call
next
it now.
one, I respect it. I mean, we did have some, not snooze fests, if you will, but certainly some of these more recent matches have been more exciting. Never upset with a good set 5. I know Trav was begging for one. Had to sit out, unfortunately, on the sidelines for the Zeta match, but now we get to make up for it a little bit, buddy. We're smooth sailing here. This should be a fun one to finish off on as well.
I get to see if this goes Reject's way or Rivals, both of them so desperately needing points, especially Rival at this, because they haven't been off to the best of starts in 2025. They didn't even qualify to the first month, but doing a lot better this time, and Byron going to be the first selection from Terry. Clancy, Lou, and B-Bands coming out of them, and even just looking at the bench, you could tell who had that first pick. We've got the Hank, Lou, and Poco over the other side, and no one wants to be playing against Hank, especially when the mid is as open as this is.
We had Navi on this map picking up a Byron as well, together with the Melody and the Mr. P, and I see all 3 of those bowlers will technically still be open to pick. Melody is now going to be picked up by Reject. Kenny, I feel like that's a wise choice. You don't want to have a Byron Melody against you.
Mechanical Wizards in this region and equipping yourself with a Melody, I think, are a really good choice. It's a frustrating brawler to deal with. I think it's a slept-on brawler in the game at a casual level. Somebody like myself, for example, not necessarily to bring out the ceiling that Melody has. I think it's such a high skill expression brawler. Now they're pairing this with the most pesky, frustrating one arguably in the game right now. Having Porter cycling into a single-shot brawler like Byron could be really lethal.
Yeah, I mean, I must say, I always like a Mr. P. As I said, this is my go-to. It's my go-to in ranks, just because of how easy it is and how bad I am. So, Daryl and Ollie roll in after that. The tanks are just flying in the East Asia region. I'm sure they will across both of the weekends as well for the rest of the monthly finals. But along with the Byron and the heals, so much is going to be happening. Mr. P is desperately going to need these porters because just his damage and his impact on the game is not going to be able to deal too much against this Rival Esports comp.
Rival Esports immediately doubled down. Without hesitation, they go Daryl, Ollie, and now they've got the extra assist coming in from Byron, who's going to be able to heal them up. Those porters, definitely not going to be as effective as they have been in the past. That's kind of the brawler that I expected them to pick. Surge is going to have to really pop off here. Melody really going to have to pop it as well. Melody is not going to be able to easily dive in and grab kills on either of these guys. They just have so many health points. Now they have a Byron assisting them. And like I said, the Mr. P porters don't look nearly as valuable. I think this is going to put a lot of pressure on Surge. He's really going to have to be the one that does his job. Typically going to be able to counter these brawlers, able to hop over, say, an Ollie dash or a Daryl roll. But there's two of those brawlers on the other end, and your other two teammates aren't that great into this enemy composition, I would say. I think it's going to take some serious good play out of Reject to win this one.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Rival Esports have got a good comp to come in and win this one. I will say they can keep this constant aggression up. We'll see if that's the case with Reject when they get these porters, when they get the hypercharges. They should with this against this composition with the Mr. P. For their sake, they better hope that turns it around.
Early dive in here. Terry managing to stay alive, and now he's going to get a little hypnosis on the shoe. Can't move a muscle, does stay alive, and will continue to grow this lead. Melty jumping away. Batman back in action, diving forward, looking for the finishing blow on Icy, but now Mameshi there to respond. It's a back and forth the whole way.
Yeah, just non-stop action between these two teams. Terry with the super, though, looking to try and probably grab two of them, with Batman coming up with the super here as well. In goes Terry, gets the jump forwards and should be able to hypnotize Shu, and does just that. But Batman in the back lines, decimating Rival Esports and keeping this lead in Reject's hands.
Look, Mr. P hasn't been super effective yet. He's got the porters down. He's able to easily charge up those supers off the enemy tanks, but the porters definitely not as effective. It's really been Melty and a Melody show. Now a hypercharge once again, dashing together and looks for the Byron. If Byron's down, it's easier to kill these enemy brawlers, but there's Icy right back in the action again. So much movement going down on this map, but it's Reject pulling away.
Right back in the action and right back out of the action, and then right back into the action again. I see just rolling on in, back and forward, and Batman doing the exact same when he gets the super out of spawn as well. Terry going to be hypnotizing Shu here, trying to drag him off the zone. Terry cycles the super again, gets taken out though, and Melty against IC. He has the help of the ports who are doing so much. The Verta jumping kill from Melty, brilliance, but he needs the tank, and Batman springs out of spawn, and that's going to be match point to Reject coming up next.
I think that was the best play Mr. P made the entire game, to be honest with you. In that moment when it was a one-on-one and Surge desperately needed a kill because things could have gotten out of hand quickly if they let that one go. Two porters and one Surge. And it's basically three brawlers. As a tank, you can't focus all on that. So early on, I don't think it's going to be nearly as effective. But those are the little moments where Mr. P's pretty much got wrecked that entire game, to be honest with you. Walked over the whole time. But it's those little things, even at his worst, he's still contributing with an extra, essentially, two brawlers on the map. Really well played from Reject. And now extending this lead once again. IC survives, but now Shu laying down the line. Some good taps there. Melty still looking for this tier 1, but plenty of time and a very easy one to charge up against the Daryl and Nolly.
Hype charge already, fair enough. Batman back into the action once more. Terry should be falling down because of it, but IC going to come in and help. And Batman's just decimating the Melty helping out as well. But as you said, what's Mr. P doing? Not a lot at all. But he's here, he's present, and he's helping with the porters.
He's a man for the porters, and it's working. Climbing to 60% though. Terry, once again, doing what he's done this entire set, getting an easy wipe onto Shu. The gadget and super combo. So terrifying to deal with, and as good of a brawler as all he is, this Reject combination is finding good ways to deal with him. IC popping a hypercharge, diving in, out, Melty, jumping, dunks on the enemy side, and Batman buries him as well. It's going to be Reject running away with it here.
Terry back again, and IC going to join him in there as well. Great jump from him, double hypnotize. He gets great kill. Shu's going to go down. Terry's so low though, and Melty wants to make the play on his own. Great roll by IC though. Melty's still going, and Batman, how is Melty still alive? Reject, brilliance. They get the kills, and that's going to be the game. They're going all the way to the finals, and Rival Esports will sadly be knocked out.
What a showing there. On paper again, you never know what you're going to get. Mr. P got a little bit of value there, but honestly, Melody and Surge popping off in that set. At times, it really felt like a 2v3. I mean, honestly, Sonny, my brain is scrambled. There was so much mobility between both those teams. Probably one of the higher ones I've seen in any match I've ever watched.
I mean, I called it. We saw a pretty similar comp played out by Navi before as well. They had Byron instead of the Surge in their comp, and it worked out perfectly. The Surge was a phenomenal addition to that Batman and that melody as well. Just an absolute menace. I still have to point out Mameshi though as well. I only saw this guy miss like 3 or 4 shots. It's not easy to consistently heal with Byron, and he just doesn't miss any.
600 609 DPS, 13 for Melody, 11 and 485. Look, she only had 2 kills. He was a contributor, though. Still 368 DPS. Every one of these guys on the left-hand end had more DPS than the right-hand side. The kills piling up as well. I think that's something we're just going to have to get used to seeing these insanely high stats because of how tanky this meta has been. I mean, we've seen double tank, triple tank here today, Trav. So definitely a change-up, something the viewers at home are going to get used to. But it's safe to say that was a super entertaining set.
I'm just surprised we don't see Melody banned out more often. Maybe Reject. They make it now to the finals. They have learned their lesson. Always ban her out if you can't get your hands on her yourself. It definitely worked for her. Trev, any highlights from the last 5 maps? Do you feel like we're going to see some of the brawlers again? Some of the players that in particular stood out to you?
I mean, my mind's just blown by that last set, though. I don't know how me and Kenny were keeping up with it, to be honest, because it was just non-stop people dashing from spawn. But, you know, Reject have got a tough road ahead of them. It's going to be very, very difficult, so it's hard to point out what player's really going to shine. But in that one, I think Batterman was probably my MVP, just because of him constantly doing so much on that Melody. So I think he's one to watch out for in the grand finals, but no matter who comes through the lower bracket semi, it's going to be a very, very hard-fought battle for Reject.
As we take a little glimpse at the brackets here again, we see that we're almost done. We're done with 5 out of the 7 matches we have for you today, but there's still 2 bangers coming up now. It was a close 4th quarterfinal, a close first semi-final, and now Navi versus Zeta Division. Kenny, I believe we're going to go to set 5 again.
I'm not willing to make that call. I'm going with Zeta Division for sure. I feel pretty strongly about that. Look, we've had a hot streak of 3-2s. I hope you all get another one while I'm on the sidelines. I'll certainly be watching. This one feels like a 3-1 to me, Zeta Division, though.
We're gonna head into a very, very quick break. Be ready, though, for another 2 banger matchups. Up next, we just saw it in the bracket as well, is gonna be Navi versus Zeta Division.
Oh, that was easy to work.
Matches later, 1 match later, and we have Ark back. Ark had a pretty long break. This was a 3-2. Did you enjoy your break? Did you watch the match? Any thoughts?
I did watch the match. I did enjoy my break. To be honest, I had a tough time in the background, sort of deciding on that prediction, because that was for me the biggest 50-50 of the day. Actually, I thought that we were going to see a bit more of a convincing win by CR over the Zeta. That wasn't the case. Zeta thoroughly deserve to be in the place that they are in now, up against Navi. Not going to be an easy task whatsoever, especially if you look back to last month and how that went down. But I think that they really deserve to make it to the semi-finals, and for their sake, I hope they go all the way today, because as the number 4 spot on the leaderboard, they could use the points.
So you thought that this would go all the way to the 5th set. What are your thoughts on Navi versus Zeta?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that, Navi have got a lot to prove. There's no doubt about that. Going back to last month, they lost to Crazy Raccoon in the semi-finals, so they've got a lot still to prove to themselves. I think when you look in terms of the qualifying stages, though, we did see a run in between Navi and Zeta Division in the, upper brackets final round of February. And that was a very, very close scoreline. That was a double match point. it went in favour of Navi. It was so close. And I feel like that is, something that's going to be on the minds of both of these two teams.
We're gonna listen in with Achapi real quick. He had to say something about their loss from last month against Crazy Raccoon.
はい、ゼータが来てもクレイジーラクーンが来ても、2チーム、それぞれ、ゼータだったら、タンクだったりだとか、そういう機動力高めの、編成が得意だったりだとか、あとはクレイジーラクーンだったら長射程メインの、編成っていうのが得意なんで、そこをしっかりと、対処できるように、バンキャラだったりドラフトをしっかりとしていきたいなというふうに思います。
So Chappy is ready to just counter pick their opponents. Let's see if that's going to work out in the upcoming series. Now, Trev, we want to talk a bit more about Kuro and Ryohei. We certainly talked about Ryohei before, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, Ryohei and Kuro have been around for a serious amount of time, and Kuro is a massive player in the scene. He's, as it says, the Brawl Stars World Champion, the Zeta Division 2022, and that was a very tough year to be coming out on top as well. And obviously qualifying to the LCQ last year as well, not last year, the year before last, with Chasmat Gaming EA as well. But come together with Ryohei, played together as Nidog with Ghost T in 2024, and second place and top 4 in June and July. So they were there, they were about the scene in 2024, but it was nowhere near as successful as a guy with a world championship should be.
Yeah, I feel like that's always going to be a helping hand, isn't it, to have someone who's seen that kind of level of experience. But like I say, in terms of the LCQ, that's where things haven't been very fruitful for the members of Navi, and that's going to be on their minds. You've got to think about where you're at presently rather than what was things like back in the past. We've had many a champion in the past that have not really ever stuck the test of time. So the method's changing, the game's evolving, everything's getting more and more complicated. You've got to keep up with that race.
Chappy, Kuro, and Ryohei make up the roster that is on one side of this or in one corner of this match. On the other side, we have 3 very strong bowlers as well. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
Zeta Division.
Yeah, Zeta Division are crazy. I mean, we came into this and it was very much a 50-50 for that quarterfinal number 4 against Crazy Raccoon, and last month it didn't go their way, and this month it did. Luckily for them, they'd have been completely out of the race for Brawl Cup and in a very poor position overall as well. So for their sake, it's good that it went this way. Extremely talented players. If you can take down Crazy Raccoon, you've got something about you. So I think Navi are in a bit of trouble when it comes into this one.
We heard from Levy before. We'll hear from him again now. Thoughts on their performance from last month.
先月準決勝で負けたのは、最初の月っていうのもあって、自分たちの本番どう立ち回るかがあやふやなところがあったんで、それが原因だったかなと思います。
So Levi feels like they still have some things to polish. Chappy, on the other hand, is just trying to outdraft their opponents. Let's see who is going to do better in their task here. It's time for payback arc. Zeta Division so far didn't look like they can actually beat Navi.
Well, this was going back to the February qualifiers. This is where we went to the 5th final set, and you can see there as well that it was actually really for me that it was a bit confusing with the colours there, but it was Zeta that got the first 2 sets. So they were actually kind of reverse swept in the sets, not necessarily the full reverse sweep, but it went to a double match point, and that was the loss that then meant that Zeta Division had to go for the lower bracket. They did do that successfully. They beat Go Next with a 3-0 scoreline, and then in the monthly finals was where they made a reject in those semi-finals, and that's where they faltered. And think about things in that context today. They're going to want to make the grand finals to give that team the rematch. They want to get their own back over reject, and what better place to do it in the grand finals? They've got to get there first. And now they were playing fantastic today. So, it's going to be on their minds about their qualifiers. But I would say that today we've seen a far better Zeta Division than we saw last month. So if that qualifier was anything to go by last month, and they've had that growth between then and now, this should be theirs for the taking, in my opinion.
Both Navi and Zeta have been in the semi-finals last month already, so they had their chance to make it into the grand finals. They didn't, then maybe one of them will for sure make it today. And that also means that they haven't faced against each other since the February monthly qualifiers. Those were the stats from that we just looked at. So apart from scrims, we don't really know anything about those 2 teams, about their results. Shooting Star is going to be our first map though. And I think that Choppy mentioned that he believes Zeta Division likes to play really aggressive. Now, usually on Shooting Star, we see a lot of long-range rulers. Trev, you feel like we're going to see another Mex comp? Melody, maybe?
It's a definite possibility, and I think regardless of who's playing Shooting Star these days, there's usually an aggressor and there's usually one who plays a bit more defensive, and we saw the same on Hideout as well. One team who's always kind of stuck back in the spawn and one team who's pushed up against them. And it wouldn't surprise me if either team do, to be fair. Like, Navi might want to take the aggressive brawlers and take it to Zeta Division. Try beat them at their own game, and I don't think that's a bad idea for them to do either. But yeah, I certainly think that Zeta Division are, so mechanically skilled that they can really do what they want. And if what they want to do is aggression, then they'll do it.
Zeta Division also winning the bets here. You guys at home voted 52% for Zeta Division, 48 to Navi. I feel like I might keep right here that this is going all the way, since this is really a 50-50. We're heading into the draft now. Jean, Underland, Piper banned out from the side of Zeta Division. Navi has the first pick. They're still banning out a lot of long range, plus Mr. P. I would have left him open and picked them up first, Ark.
It's a possibility. I mean, for sure, there's certain brawlers that can overrun Mr. P, but we've seen already today just how difficult it is once you've got the hypercharged turret. And, trying to deprive away from that is the key, but ultimately it can't be avoided all the time. Very first pick, definitely going to be a good deterrent of some throwers on the side of Zeta Division if they were feeling that way inclined. It's a great map for Juju. They may still go for Juju in the mid, but for Sprout as well. Gray is really that kind of brawler which can just eradicate you so quickly. And in Bounty, those kills are going to stack and matter. RT is a safe pick, still available here for sure. The Gene Band is a solid one on the side of Zeta Division, and the Angelo. Bell first pick, again, a brawler that I've never really minded. I really like Bell. I just feel like it's not necessarily the flashiest or strongest of first pick brawlers for me, but nonetheless, it's got a good rate of fire, which I think is quite good for the nest eggs now as well. With the gadget reset, that cooldown, you can lay a lot more than you really ever used to. So I quite like it for that reason, to really mark your territory and stay grounded in that regard. But certainly Max is open here as well. Byron's going to be there for the heals for Zeta, but I think some aggressors have yet to show their faces.
Yeah, I mean, I like Bell. I always have. It's, as you say, it's not like the best sharpshooter, but it's always there. It's good. It's fine. Byron, a healer and a sharpshooter kind of all in one combined, so they might pair with that something a bit more aggressive. He said Max still yet to come, could be taken by Navi here, as they do have that Grey along with it as well, so not a bad pairing. But Zeta Division, obviously having the last pick, leave themselves up a good possibility of countering what Navi bring to the table. They're going to take the Mandy. Has become very, very good recently. The hypercharge, pretty disgusting. Does a lot of damage up close, but you're usually using it when you're kind of miles back and want to try snipe all three lanes.
Yeah, Mandy now is in a great spot, honestly. I'm still waiting for that hypercharge moment on a cast. I really am with that cycle and just a complete team wipe. Certainly a knockout. I want to see it there first, but I wouldn't grumble if it was to happen today at this stage in the competition at all. Gus going to come in for Navi. I was going to say, yeah, Melody and Gus, I was kind of wondering where Melody was at the moment in terms of things, and you can see how swift of a pickup that was for Zeta. Surprised, in all honesty, that Navi didn't go for that, because the Mandy is certainly going to be a bit more susceptible to being stood still and requires somewhat of an aggressor to help protect her. And I'm not sure that the Grey can necessarily do that on his own, but you can see how quick Zeta were to snap it up. And I was going to wonder, was that a mistake from Navi? Did they miss a trick there?
Yeah, there was no delaying at all, was there? It was just straight into Melody, just bang, go, we'll win. So possibly, like how dominant it's been today, you've got to worry about coming up against it, because the win rate of Melody must just be absolutely off the charts. The only thing that's really held a candle to it is Daryl today, and Daryl hasn't really been coming away with that many wins. It's won a fair few, but also lost a lot as well. So Zeta Division have definitely got a very solid, well-rounded comp here, I'd say.
Well, Zeta, this is their best multi-finals performance to date, or if they can gain one set here, it will be. Certainly, of course, getting past Crazy Raccoon, I think, was a very unlikely scenario that coming in today was on the cards for them. Not so that they couldn't do it, but simply because of Crazy Raccoon being the last month's monthly final victors. Now, against Navi, this is going to be the biggest test yet today. Let's see how they fare. Blue Star, so far, just a Tampo, and going in, giving a few taps, getting some notes, and going actually superly aggressive. Can you get out of this position, some heals? You might just be able to do that, or even stay there and just continue the aggression. Crazy stuff from Tampo.
Who needs to get out when you can just stay in? It's just never ending. All super thrown out there by Ryohei and was clocked onto by Suzuki, who does just kind of weave in and out and get out of the way of it. Stampo going very low, but good heals again from Byron, and really been on point with those today. Stampo staying alive a lot longer than he should have been in that aggressive position that he was in there. But Ryohei doing a good job of keeping this range on the lane, with Stampo just waiting for the super to go aggressive again.
Good jukes on display from Navi, not giving an inch so far to Zeta, but it's honestly something that I'm worried about the most on the side of Navi, because when he goes, he really does go, and Suzuki's been allowing these heals, but he's been doing so pretty well. Hypercharge now available for a Chappie, so watch out for that one coming in, but I mean, Tampo has got the ability to evade it, but these two have got to come together because the scoreline is that close.
Yeah, Byron's healing. They're going to have to go soon because the hypercharge is going to take effect. Chooses to just kind of wait very, very late. Very late there. And they may have waited way too long, and Zeta Division somehow come away with it. One more shot and it would have been over for them. But they clung on and managed to take it.
My word. Honestly, it wasn't, I mean, I was feeling the same. I thought that they were leaving it way too late. But when you look at how little HP there was left in that grey, maybe it was only a fraction of milliseconds, really, when you think about it. Just enough between the shots. Because that was a very low level of HP that could have turned the tide there slightly. But, yeah, I feel like they could have done a bit more in those final moments. First of all, Kane brings Tambo back into the question for Ryohei, but not more than that, as he evades his way back into spawn. Just the blue star, a nice dash in from Zeta. But again, they've got to hold this defense, and once Chappie gets his super and Kuri can get a shield, then that could spell disaster.
Yeah, good shots coming in. What a slow that is as well. Wonderful walking cane too. Good combination of gadgets from a trap in Ryohei there. Just making sure he can't escape, as he was doing in the last one. But how quickly this can turn with Stampo on the Melody is very, very dangerous. But no notes and going very aggressive. 2 of the dashes used already.
Tampo's now at the range of the heals, so he's going to be a bit cautious now. Suzuki just repositioning himself. Tampo goes right to the right-hand side corner. Ryohei's surviving on them, 181 HP. Nice taps from Suzuki there just to seal it, and that Sugar Rush not going to connect either. So that's going to be a wasted super for Ryohei. And Blue Star still with Zeta, so just the one kill separating things out. But yeah, a bit of a missed opportunity, I feel, there for Zeta.
Oh, great taps from there. It's like trips the nest egg and just gets absolutely beamed with no shots missed. Hypercharge was even used to secure that as well. And it is 6-4 with Blue Star and Zeta Division's hands, looking like they're going to be taking the set if it stays like this. But we do have that Hypercharger Chappie again ready to roll. Good slow onto the Byron here, but Splash Dude on himself to stay alive in 27 seconds. There's the Hypercharge, gets one, but it's not going to be enough just yet. They need another.
Yeah, tough thing now. The Chevy slowed so much that shot from the barrel just scaving him there. And it would have been enough to advance the lead for Zeta, but as such, they are still going to win this if nothing changes. It's Navi that needs the kill. Tampo going in now. The hypercharge on Sakura. The shield is huge, but Tampo survives it on. Now it's 10 to 6 as Zeta hold firm. Everyone stays standing despite the low HP, and the set goes the way then of Zeta.
I mean, that looked very good for Zeta. Like, they may have had a few deaths here and there, might have been fairly close to losing that first game, but I don't know if there was ever really a moment where I didn't feel that Zeta Division were in control. Stampo doing a great job of lunging in and out when he really needed to, opening up some space, getting kills, and ensuring that they get those wins. It was great play from Zeta Division. They just seemed in control.
Every time I see a Byron in the draft, I now immediately hear my alarm bells ring, honestly. That you either have to pick up Melody yourself or just really have something to counter it. Melody just ran away with those 3 kills that Zeta Tampo did so well on her. I really didn't feel like Navi could have done anything different to win this one, actually. They just needed a better draft. They didn't really have anything to account for that aggressive Zeta Tampo.
I mean, the thing is, though, they kind of did in the sense of, like, you know, if they didn't pick up the Gus and they picked up the Melody, what realistically was Zeta Division going to combine the Byron with? They kind of would have been forced a little bit to kind of play out the sharpshooter, long-range affair, in my opinion, or maybe they could have gone with a tank, but it would have been a big risk, or maybe something like a Max, but realistically, Byron would have been a bit out of place in that regard. This is that final moment. Honestly, look at this. That tap, I mean, he's down to just a couple of hundred HP there on Suzuki's side. It could have been the difference maker for me in that first game, but the second, like Trev says, I mean, Zeta looks very much at home. even that final moment, I mean, that was the only real one moment that we saw weakness in them.
We didn't see a lot of weaknesses, that's very true. Maybe in the next set though. Achopi did say that they like to outdraft their opponents. They studied them well. Let's see if they did their homework for Bridge to 4. Another very long-ranged map. It is a heist map, but probably one of the only heist maps you actually play long-range brawlers, if possible, maybe also a Melody, a Daryl. Some tanks can come in, but overall just really long-range stuff.
Yeah, it's a similar vibe, really. Like, obviously, it's a different objective, but the map is just long range. 3 pretty distinct lanes, the same as Shooting Star. And, yeah, pick up a Melody, you're pretty much going to be winning it. Same with, like, sharpshooters down the sides.
Yeah.
If you get good sharpshooters, you're pretty much chilling. Sharpshooters and a Melody, you're looking good. Chuck, it definitely was good, but I feel like people have just got better at playing against the Chuck.
Don't pick it. Good advice.
Good shout, good shout.
Brawl Styles,
Especially with me and Archicasting. Especially with me and Archicasting.
Has been known to happen. Yeah, Melody bound for Zeta. First coin toss, then go the way of Navi. Yeah, we expect that. That's a must, really, for me. Good bans, though, for the Angelo and the Eve. And a first pick a Miko is an interesting thing to see at this stage of the draft. I mean, I'm all for it, don't get me wrong. It's really quite a tough one to deal with, especially on this kind of map. You've got the ability to swap lanes so, at your will, really. And with the star power as well, being able to get 100% extra damage against non-brawlers with record smash, that's where Miko's going to thrive. You can't leave a Miko on the safe. It's going to be damage trickling away, and the base race is a risky one, honestly. You've got to be so careful. The truck being banned, though, does allow the Miko to even have a better time on that kind of base race. You're not fighting against the truck, so it's a nice idea so far.
Yeah, I mean, Amber